Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2.
Okay, ready for your...
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, for your main event of the evening, fighting out of the blue corner from Fresno, California, Frank Aleman Boxing!
Okay, that's the intro.
That's the intro?
Yeah, you want to do the... Hit it.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner by way of knockout from Fresno, California, Frank Aleman Boxing!
Excelente.
Cue it up, Woody. Cue it. I can't hear it. No. I can't hear the intro.
Can't hear nothing?
I can't hear the intro.
Oh,
You can't hear nothing.
I'll cue you in.
Come on, bro. I need to do better than that.
I'll fix it. You're on.
And we're live here at the Fighter's Voice, 1680 AM, the Fighter's Voice. Voiceography at its finest. Every fighter has a voice, and so does our guest in studio, Mr. Boxing's own Frank Aleman. We have a great show for you today, sponsored by Serrano's Furniture, family owned since 1986 in 9 great locations: Bakersfield, Delano, Dinuba, Fresno, Hanford, Madera, Tulare, Visalia, and Porterville. And our other sponsor, About Millions Lifestyle and Promotions in Fresno, California. Also, Main Events Gym with new hours, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. with new classes open from the pro level to the beginner. The only boxing gym in Fresno with the most active professionals. And all you live streamers joining us on my Facebook page, Richard Ortiz, please share it. It's being brought to you by Big Bill Connington. Make sure you submit your questions for our guests or call in for questions using our phone lines, our hot phone lines at 559-442-1680. Anytime during the show. Ask the Fighter's Voice how to win the Fighter's Voice official t-shirt. Today's show is engineered by Woody Pena. The Fighter's Voice radio show live will be going over last Thursday's big top-ranked boxing event that was brought to you by Bob Arum Promotions along with Tachi Palace in Lemoore, California, titled Valley Boys. We will also talk about some big events coming up involving our own Central Valley fighters from boxing and MMA. The Fighter's Voice radio show live welcomes Fresno's own Mr. Boxing himself, Frank Aleman, who will go over his boxing club, his gym, his lessons, his speech, his therapy, his you-know-who about boxing. His gym's open to the public. It's been in Fresno for years. It's a landmark, so to speak. Aleman's Boxing has a show coming up February the 10th in Fresno, California. And now, back to ringside. And there we are. Welcome to the show, Frank. How we doing, man?
Everything's good. Thanks for having me here today.
Man, first of all, congratulations on your consistency throughout all of 2017, man.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, 2017 was a good year. We got a lot of things done. We traveled all around the United States, and my kids are still boxing.
You know what? There's a lot of boxing clubs, a lot from this area, and for whatever reason, they'll hit speed bumps here and there, like we all do in life. But you maintain your consistency, your following. How do you maintain that schedule? Because you're training, you're running a boxing club / gym, and you're working the corner of undefeated young professional Kevin Mendoza. Now, how do you find the time for all that?
Yeah, I wish there was more than 24 hours in a day to help me with that, but there's not. And but I got all that plus 2 little kids that I'm raising, and it's real cool. It all works out, and I don't know how I do it, but I do it, and I'm happy that I'm able to do it.
Now, you said 2 little kids you're raising. Are they also involved in the sweet science?
Yeah, well, the bigger one is he's one of my boxers. He's 9 years old, and he's been competing now for a year and a half. And the little one is too little. He barely turned 6 yesterday, so he's still too young.
You've been training fighters for years. How do you separate the two when you train your own for a fight? I know father has to get in the way of trainer, so to speak. How do you separate the two? Is that an easy pill for you to swallow?
I'm not sure I'm able to separate the two. I'm probably harder on him than most people because I feel like he has. I'm still a dad, and it's hard for me to separate it. So I am his coach, I am his dad, and so he's double the pressure. But he's doing good right now, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I can concur with that. I coach my son Richie and Cassandra, both soccer and baseball, and yeah, absolutely. First one to practice, last one to leave. Now, will they be? I understand you got a show coming up, February 10th in Fresno. You'll be back with Frank Aleman's boxing. Would your son be competing, or is it a son or a daughter that's competing?
Yeah, I have 2 boys.
Okay, will they be competing on that show?
He'll be at the weigh-in scales, and just like most everybody there, hoping to find a match for him that day. That's how most amateur shows go. They you show up in the morning, and you weigh in, and you try to find somebody else who is similar to your age, similar to your experience, and similar to your weight, and you get to fight. But if that doesn't happen, then you're not going to fight that day. This is amateur boxing. You show up, you're driving from, whether it's either people come from Colorado, from Washington State, and hey, the fighter's not there. But it's amateur boxing, and everybody understands that happens, and you look for somebody else.
Now, what can we expect differently from this show as opposed to the other words? The same recipe, the same tacos for sale, the same entertainment, just the same vibe? Because I've been to your shows. The food is on hit. Everybody there wants to be there. Every match is very competitive. The matchmaking is on key. I've never seen anybody in the ring that didn't belong there. I mean, what can we look forward to?
It's pretty much gonna be the same as usual. This is our 10th year since I've opened the gym in 2008, and this is our 40th show that we've thrown. So there's not a recipe to change. Everything comes out great, and we leave it the way it does.
If it's not broken, don't fix it. And I'm strong about that. Continue to push forward and continue to have the success that you have. I want to ask you this: how many shows do you plan on having this year?
The next show will be April 28th. The next show after that will be September 9th. The next show after that will be November 4th and 5th, or 3rd and 4th, somewhere around there. So 1, 2, there'll be 3 more shows, 4 more days.
Now, how's that leg work from day one? We're putting on a show. Talk to us about the work behind that.
We try to get some sponsors for the show. We ask for $200 to get them ringside seats, put their names on the posters. But that's been really hard. It's been really difficult to get sponsors over the years. But we hope for a good show, which is about 25 to 30 fights. And with that, we know that whatever we spend putting the show on, as far as sanctions and different fees and that cost, that we'll get our money back with the door revenue. So we don't really worry about losing money putting on these shows. We know it's for the kids. We put it on for the kids. They're not only kids, but all the way up to 40 years old. But the majority of it is kids that are boxing. So we're doing it for the athletes and the boxers, and we're not worried about it. We call other gyms. We ask them, hey, send me a list. The list includes their boxers, their names, their ages, their weights, and their experience, and we try to match them up before they get to the show. And those that don't get matched up, they still come in, they weigh in, and we see we can match them up that day.
So you're open to sponsors as we speak?
Yeah, I think we've got 0 for this show coming up so far.
Hey, if anybody's listening right now, our phone lines are open throughout the whole show. 559 area code. The number is 442-1680. Hey, if you want to help out Frank Aleman's show coming up, feel free to give us a call, get a hold of the Fighter's Voice, and we'll make sure you get recognized, and so does these fighters that need that recognition and need that financial help, as we all do. Frank, I got to ask you this. You're very humble, but how does it feel to be called the Mecca of amateur boxing in Fresno, California?
That sounds nice. Not only, I don't just do my own gym. I don't just do my own kids. I'm also the president of Central California Boxing. It goes from Bakersfield all the way up to a little bit past Modesto, all the way to the beaches of Stock Salinas, and all the way to the desert Tehachapi. We get a lot of boxers. This weekend we hosted 125 boxers took advantage of a free health clinic that we held at Aleman Boxing, where we had Dr. Apodaca out of Coalinga come in, and he offered all these kids free physicals for their year.
Oh,
and
wow.
So they had free physicals for the whole year. Those physicals run about $50 to $70 if you go to a clinic, and they all got them for free. So they came in from all around. They came in from Hanford. They came in from Lindsay. Madera was there. Just a lot of towns brought in their boxers to get serviced, and they got their free physicals this weekend.
Wow, that's quite a feat, right?
I've been doing that for about 7 years. I've been president of our association for I think 3 or 4. So I did it before I should have had to, but now I'm doing it anyway still.
I remember you asked me a while back, I don't know if you remember this conversation, about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You said, Richard, you ever thought about being an official or a referee or something? I remember you asked me a while back.
Yeah, I'm always, if people like boxing, I don't understand why they don't get involved more. And so that's why I probably asked you. I said, hey man, we always need volunteer officials, volunteers to help out at shows. And even if it's just Fresno, if you don't want to travel, because the shows are every week in Central California.
Mm-hmm.
It's Madera, it's Modesto, it's Salinas, it's Bakersfield, it's Wasco, it's all these towns that are in between the major ones. And everybody has a show every weekend. We always need officials.
Yeah.
And or if you know any doctors, we always need doctors to volunteer. It'd be nice. And these shows need those things, and so we're always asking people.
I know the story, but let the listeners know. Let's get a recap. Frank, how'd you get started? How'd you get involved in boxing?
Oh, I was about 14 years old when my uncles decided to, keep pushing me. Hey, go be a boxer. Go be a boxer. And there was a time, probably when I was 10, I would say that I actually went to a boxing gym and trained for about a week. And but it was nothing serious. But when I was 14, it was nothing serious, but when I was 14, my dad finally took me to the gym to get me out of some trouble that I was getting myself into, and it probably saved my life, to tell you the truth. I mean, I felt like I had a future in boxing, and there was a gym over at Holmes Playground. It's not there no more. The park's there, but the gym's not there. Yeah. And my coaches, they all took me under their wing and helped raise me, and it was a good fit for me. And I've always loved boxing. I think I started with WWF, and then I started liking boxing.
There you go, like every kid did. Yeah. Now, in 1 minute, quickly, who inspired you to become a trainer?
I think it's just the next thing for me to do. Once I decided to stop working out myself and stop boxing, that's the next thing in boxing that you do. So that's what I did.
What trainer today inspires you?
I like Freddie Roach. I like Robert Garcia. Abel Sanchez, all those LA trainers are real good. I like those guys.
I also like Emmanuel Stewart, because he was the only trainer that trained a fighter for a knockout. He didn't like a decision at all.
Manny Stewart is probably the greatest trainer of all time,
Yeah.
but he's not around anymore. That's probably why he wasn't on my list.
I know. I'm just some of the trainers that I've watched, and some of the even the Duvas. Remember the Duvas back in the day, the Goosens and was it Clancy? Yeah, Gil Clancy. Yes.
Yeah. He helped George Foreman win the title back.
Actually, he did. Yes.
I'm not sure.
Across from, of course, Teddy Atlas.
Teddy Atlas, and that's not somebody that inspires me.
He'll motivate me if I want to hear a speech or someone kind of take off. Right off the gate or something.
Whenever I think of him, I always think of here's your phone. Your daughter's on the phone. She's crying. She's, why my daddy's not fighting? So
Exactly.
and it's really not please give me a break, you know?
Yeah.
Michael Moore still won the fight, and he didn't need to hear nothing like that.
Yeah, he's definitely pulling out all the tricks, pulling out everything that needs to be pulled out to try to bring it within. And 20 seconds, what brings you, what pulls you out? What motivates you in 20 seconds? Tell us.
Oh, every kid that walks through my gym and wants to be a fighter, they motivate me.
There you are. You know, I was once told that if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. And I've said it to on Blue, and I'll continue to say that. And I got to say this. Hey, we got to take a commercial break, pay for our bills, and we got to come back. Thank all these sponsors out there. We'll be right back on 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice. What? What? Let me go. I can't see my time there. Excuse me, Bill. Hey, Woody, are you able to put those screens on so I can see the time?
Hold on.
Okay. That was a good conversation. That was good content. Yeah. Felt comfortable.
Was that you were saying?
Yeah, I can't see the screens of the times. Are you able to pop those on?
Yeah, no. We don't need that. That's why I was.
I know, but I'm blind. I like them. That way I can count down.
Damn.
Is there any way you can do that? Okay, the next show, can you do that?
Yeah.
I don't like going in blind.
Well,
okay.
you're gonna have to control it.
That's fine. That
Okay,
I need to see something, or else I need to know to use my phone for the timer.
You can do that too.
No, I just like to know how many questions. I don't like cut off. You know what I'm saying? Thank you.
Yeah, 14. The format is 14, 9, 8, 8, 250.
Okay.
All right, stand by.
And we're back live in studio, 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice. Voiceography at its finest. Every fighter has a voice, and so does our guest, Fresno's own Frank Aleman, boxing. This is part 2, Frank, and it's called The Valley Boys, part 1. We had a great event. Top Rank Boxing last Thursday at Tachi Palace, and it was promoted by Bob Arum's Top Rank Boxing. It was a great event. It hosted a lot of our Valley guys. We had Madera's own Ochoa. Fresno's Ochoa, Madera's Brian Lua, Fresno's Joe Louis Lopez, and in the main event you had Daniel Valdivia. We also had some fighters, Victor Morales from Oregon. We also had Edgar Martinez from, I believe, Palm Springs, and from Stockton, I believe, or San Jose. I'm not too sure of the gentleman's name. He looked really, really well, and I believe he came in with Andy Vincent. So I'm trying to. Angel, was it Cordon?
And he's from Concord.
Okay, Concord. Yes. Okay. Well, I just saw Andy Vincent's in his corner and stuff, and we got a lot to talk about. But first, what's your take on the whole show, the whole event, before we start breaking down the fighters?
Well, it's always great to have local shows. That way, our local fighters don't have to go somewhere else and be the opponent.
Yes.
Staying right here at home, and that's something, that's a part of professional boxing that you need. You need to have a promoter that's willing to work with you, and if they're local, then they can get local fighters on. That's the main thing in pro boxing, is to have a local promoter promoting local kids, and that was great to see that Top Rank was here promoting local kids.
Well, let's talk about that promoter promoting local kids, and you're referring to.
I'm referring to Top Rank on Saturday, who's only here is because of Rick Meridian, right?
Yeah, Rick Meridian.
And then also
Bob Arum, the promoter.
Bob Arum. And then also the new promoter here in town, which is Main Event Promotions, right?
Yes, Big Al Perez,
Big Al.
Senior.
Yeah, and those are the two promoters right now that are helping out a lot of local fighters.
Yes, and yes, you're exactly right. So when you say helping out, we're talking about giving opportunity.
That's absolutely right. They're helping them by giving them the opportunity to fight locally. But it's not only that, because when you're a professional fighter and you don't have a local promoter, that means that you're going to go to somebody else's, another promoter to fight. which is somebody else's local promoter who's putting on their fighter, and you become the opponent. You become somebody that they're all expecting you to lose at that show. So you get put in over your head, and if you're able to knock out those fighters, then you can move on with your career at somebody else's local show and beating their local fighter, and you have to move on to the next city and beat their local fighter. But all these kids were champions when they were amateurs, and now they're all the stars growing up in their own cities. And so if you could do that in your own city, that means being taken care of, which means that you should not be fighting people who are undefeated. You should not be fighting people who have an opportunity to beat you, only to test you and only to give you competition until you get to that point where you have to go out and fight somebody for a world championship.
Hey, I got a call right now. Let me take this. Hey, caller, you're on the line. The Fighter's Voice.
Nope.
I think they hung up.
Okay, I think you hung up then.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, let's jump right to
Call
it.
back.
Yeah, call back, please. Call back. Okay, there we
There they
are.
are.
We'll see. Hey, you're on the air with the Fighter's Voice. How can I help you? Okay. First of all, who am I talking to? Ernie. Are we talking about former manager Ernie? Ernie, how you doing? Welcome to the show, man. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Go for it. Frank, I'll let you address that.
All right, so I have Jose as the favorite going into that fight in New York. He's the bigger fighter. He's coming off an amazing win in November, and I think he's the favorite of the show. He has a really good he's really good at cutting weight. So he walks around and he trains at a much bigger weight. But when he gets in that fight, as you've seen in the last fight, he was the same weight as the other fighter. But he got in there and he looked like he was 10, 20 pounds heavier than him, and he walked through him in 2 rounds. And that was another 23-0 fighter. So I see this fight not necessarily going the same way because it's a much better fighter that he's going to be fighting, but he's really in his own right now, and he's looking really good right now with his trainer.
Hey, I'll say this in real quick before we take commercial, but I want to keep you on the line because these are questions I want to address. Jose Ramirez right now, I'll go out on a limb right here. I believe he is the future of the sport. I believe he's going to bring admiration to the sport. And I see this fight taking place. I see Ramirez smothering his opponent, not letting his opponent, Amir, get full extension because the man can pop. He's not there because he's just there to show up. The man, if he wins, he's trying to get Jose Ramirez out of there. I'd like to see Jose Ramirez smother him and stick what's working with him, and that's that body attack. And I believe this is Ramirez's time. And yes, I do agree with you, Frank. His discipline. He walks around like a true professional, maybe five pounds over fight night. And that's walking around.
Yeah. Do we have time to answer the other part of the question?
Yeah. Go ahead with the other part.
The other part of the question is the next superstar coming out of Fresno or the Valley or locally is going to be Kevin Mendoza. As soon as he's old enough to start performing here in Fresno, you guys will all see what all of Mexico's been seeing right now. Is when he fights in Mexico, he really draws a crowd. Right now he's 4-0 with 1 knockout, and his next fight's going to be a 6-round fight. But hopefully it won't be in Mexico. Hopefully we're trying to get a fight right now in Texas or in Nevada. But Kevin Mendoza, El Magnifico, out of Aleman Boxing.
I got a few names to add to the list, but I will say this about Kevin Mendoza. His footwork is off the charts. Anybody can close their eyes and swing left and right, but footwork, you're born with that stuff, and you also work to stay balanced. His footwork is off the charts. I'm going to throw a name at you. Brian from Madera, California. Lua is the future of boxing. Isidro Ochoa is the future of boxing. Stockton, California. Mr. Flores Jr. is the future of boxing. And let's not forget about Victor Morales from Oregon, who resides in LA, is the future of boxing. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for the call. Hey, we're going to take commercial break. You're willing to call us back. Appreciate that call, Ernie. What size shirt you wear, my man? I'm going to get you an XL. Hey, I'll make sure I stay in contact with you and get you that shirt. Thanks for the call. We're going to take a commercial break. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Hey, we're here at the Fighter's Voice, 1680 AM. We're going to take a commercial break, pay some bills, and come back with part 2 of our segment here on 1680 AM. Good answer. Good answer.
I thought time was up.
Huh?
I thought time was up. That's why I didn't say
Oh,
anything.
no. That's just, yeah, I like to see things so we kind of see it. But we'll relive this conversation. That was just a question coming in. But Kevin Mendoza, his forward, bro.
He's punching everything.
No, just. Yeah. Can you imagine if he had a promoter? Can you imagine if he had someone taking care of his PR? If he had someone just taking care of his exposure? I mean, that's all. That's just like the radio show. No one knows about it. Just like the radio show. Nobody knows about it. But if it had promotion, if it had a billboard, if it had something, so it's my job to push it. But Mendoza, yeah.
No, I mean, if we throw all those fighters that just fought locally on their performances from Thursday, then he's the one that shines out of all of them in his last performance, you know?
That's quite a statement. I'm not going to argue with that. That's quite a statement. We have some talent in this area.
Yes, we do.
No, we do. We don't have pretenders. We have some talent in this area, and we're going to take this area by storm. Yep.
Ernie. Where's Ernie from?
He used to manage the smoke show
Oh, I think
back in the day when he got him like 5-0, and then he said, "No, I'm cool."
I think I let him know. Is he fighting again?
Huh?
The smoke show gonna fight again? Or is he retired?
And then ask me that when we're on the air. You know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer. That's what that's you know more than
You
I
saw
do.
what I saw. I know what I know, but you saw what I saw.
But I saw that.
Root for him.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Thank you.
I think it's really good that he got as far as
Kind of like relax between, you know, and the next segment.
And when it's not live, you don't relax that much?
No, I like it too, man. I mean, it works both ways. I mean, you know.
I like it live so we can get this. That
I
way
like
we
it live.
can
kinda cool, yeah.
Exactly. See, we got to take call it. There's another call right
take
there.
it to another level. So we'll do that as soon as we get back.
Yeah, we can do that when we
They're
get
gonna
back.
hang up though.
If he's still blinking.
So how would you do that? Answer now?
Get him Tony.
Yeah, well, no, don't do that because then, yeah, just,
I think you answer and tell him to hold on.
oh, you know what? You can go and answer, but you got to use the bottom one. The bottom one.
On the phone.
Pick up the phone.
Oh, I don't mess with that. We'll do that off air so I get used to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So you know how to answer, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell him, hey, I was in between commercial, call back. Say I missed a call.
Cool. All right, we got 1 minute. 1 minute.
I'll put Frank on the hot seat on this one.
See if I answer.
Abortion recovery continued Jacqueline's life as they discover how one of the most difficult experiences imaginable used as the foundation for building a richer, deeper,
Too bad I wasn't in the managing business. I thought about that, but that just takes me away from all this because that's a full time.
Everything is full time. You know what you do is
Not enough
30 seconds.
hours. Not enough minutes in a day. Not enough hours in a day.
man.
15 seconds. Stand by. 5 seconds.
And we're back here live on 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice. Voiceography at its finest. Every fighter has a voice, and so does our guest. Boxing Zone, Fresno Zone, Frank Aleman. This is part 3, and it's called The Valley Boys, part 2. And I want to thank Ernie for calling us, asking his questions. We actually got another person on the call, so I'm going to jump right into that. Let's see if they're here. Hey, caller, welcome to The Fighter's Voice radio show live. Caller, hey, how you doing? Who am I talking to? Hey, what's up, Larry Madera? How's it? Hey, man, what's your question, man? Good to hear from you, Larry. Dying breed, Larry? Oh, there you go. No, there you go. Yes.
That sounds great, man. Yeah, you can reach me at 559-905-7125, and in about 30 minutes or an hour, I'll be free to be able to talk to you. But that sounds great. Thanks a lot. All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Dying breed apparel all day long. Dying breed apparel in the house. Yes, sir. Thanks for the phone call, Larry.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon, my man.
Gotcha.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's jump right to it. There you go. Hey, man, one step at a time. Let's jump right back into it, okay? Joe Louis Lopez, The Smoke Show, Fresno Zone. He fought at Save Mart Center, fought on sold-out auditoriums, coliseums, huge for Fresno. He fights here, Tachi Palace, coming off a win after a big fight, which was a close loss to Kilo Madera.
Yeah.
Fought here on the card, came up short. What's your take on that?
Let me see. Okay, so I was in the corner of his opponent on his last win, and is he
Leon?
Yeah, Jose Leon, and he
Short right hand.
He fought good that night, and I thought we were going to get him, but the referee didn't give us the opportunity, and so he got that win. And you know, you say he fought in sold out arena. Not only that, but he went to L.A. and beat one of Freddie's
guys, yes.
fighters, and he you know that was a really big win for him too, and we were all happy to see that. But yeah, he had a tough opponent in front of him on last Thursday. The guy came ready to win and beat him. Like I said, these local shows, you're supposed to win. You're supposed to be giving the fighter that everybody knows you're going to win that fight. And hey, you might have to work hard, but you're still going to win the fight, and everybody knows that. But he was not in tune. Maybe I'm not sure what happened. But that other fighter came to win, and he won. And there was really nothing to say or do about it after that was done. I was happy that he made it the distance.
Yes.
I was happy that Daniel Valdivia made it the distance. These fighters that are supposed to win, once you know, hey, I'm not going to be able to win this fight. This guy just got me beat.
Yes.
And it's real easy to just stay in your corner
And quit.
or to go down from a punch that, you know, that punch didn't hurt.
Yes.
And just stay down. But these fighters made it the distance, and I'm proud of both of them for making the distance. And if they fight again, I'll be happy to watch them again.
Well, let's talk about Daniel Valdivia, the main event, the rematch with Vladimir Hernandez.
Yeah.
What was your
that
take?
should have never happened.
Why is that?
Because there's something with that guy, and maybe it's because he's a lefty, but that guy has Daniel's ticket.
Yeah.
And if you saw the first fight, it went similar to the second fight. There was a moment in that second round where Daniel won the first round coming out of that fight.
Yes.
And in the second round, he's doing okay. But Daniel hit him with a right hand or a left, I'm not sure what it was, but Vladimir came back with about 3 or 4 or 5 punches that all landed. And at that second, Daniel lost the fight. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what's going to happen after this, but he wasn't even going to try to win after that.
As a trainer, what do you tell him to correct that?
It'll be hard because that was a mental breakdown by Daniel on Thursday. It happened just like that. In the second round, he got hit with one combination, and he shut down. And so that was a mental breakdown, and it would have been hard, and you might have had to tell him you have his daughter on the phone and she's crying, but I don't know. I don't know exactly what you would have to do, but you would have to look for everything that was working to start off the fight and say, hey, do this and it's gonna work, and do it again if it doesn't work the first time because it's gonna work the second time, and he needs to, and you're gonna have to convince him that these little things are working in order to get him back to doing other things. But you need to get him back focused on how to win.
I do want to say this, and I'll comment right before we go to commercial. Before that, Kilo Madera from Stockton went out in vocal network and challenged Daniel Valdivia. Challenged him, said, hey, I want to fight you. I want to be your next opponent. Now, I'm watching Daniel Valdivia. He's not having too much success. I look at Kilo Madera. He goes around the ring and he's rooting for Daniel. He's telling him what to do. Drop the right hand, drop the left, spin him and move him around. So all that is out the window, meaning Kilo can say and make a statement that I want to fight you, but deep down, yes, he still does because it's a business, but he was rooting for Daniel to win. And I can't say that about other people in this area. Why would you not want our guys in our area to not win? I don't understand that.
No, I don't understand that either. Thanks for promoter Rick. He gave us about 20 tickets to take most of the kids from our gym over to the show.
Right.
So we did that, and all of them were like, "What's going on? What's happening?" Because they were all there to root for Danny. Mm-hmm. They were all there to root for Isidro. They were all there to root for Brian.
Yes.
Okay. These are not fighters that we were friendly with when these guys were amateur boxers. They're from different teams. We're going to beat them when we fight them. And so on. I'm pretty sure I had fighters that fought Brian Lua.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're pros and they're successful and they're undefeated and they're coming up, and every one of my kids was there to watch them win and to root them on. Now, some people just don't like you and you can't do nothing about that.
Hey.
But I think most of the majority of people there were to watch Daniel win.
I've been on the other side of that too, and that's what I don't understand. I want to put this guy on blast. There's a guy, you know what? I'm gonna keep it real. There's a guy around this area supposed to be hosting our fights. He uses initials for his name. I'm not gonna say exactly who it is. And you don't want our guy to win from Tulare, close to Madera, close to Fresno? I just don't get that. I'm rooting for every single guy that I'm influenced with around this area because I support them. Just like we're gonna support these commercials as we come back here at 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice.
Is that the Fresno beat?
Huh?
Is that the Fresno beat?
Huh?
The Fresno beat rider?
No. Just around this area. He's around the area. Believe me, he just wasn't there that day. But when Daniel lost, he was happy. Root for the other guy. Why would you do that? I don't know what that is. Yeah, it's not even worth me mentioning his name. But if he's listening, he knows who he is. I don't gonna get all that. And I know the way Joe can be, but I still root for Joe.
I don't know the way Joe can be. Most of these guys I don't know from outside. Daniel, Brian, they're not my fighters, and I don't really know them. I don't hang out with them. Every kid at my gym, I'll tell you how they are. I spend weeks with them at a time.
This is the last 9-minute one, right?
Last 8-minute one, yes.
Oh, 8-minute, okay.
Yes, sir. Man, this is going smooth.
Well, we're supposed to mess up. We're professionals.
Professionals here, baby.
We got room to breathe. Everybody's got room to. We got time to relax.
Did you guys hear all this time when I was waiting outside?
I was here prepping, kind of. Oh, I didn't know you were waiting outside. I was waiting to get a call here saying, Rich, I'm outside.
Oh, no, I was waiting outside because I didn't see no cars, so I figured nobody's here
Yeah,
yet.
see, I want to get at least the signings, some kind of lights or something, so people come in. A little bit out of time, But the main thing is going live, and that's just, it's a whole different level. It's a whole different, little more,
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So now you know. Yeah, and I'll connect you with Larry. I'll send you his stuff.
Cool.
This is Hum. How can I help
Breathe,
you?
Larry.
Oh, hi. We have a flat. Any chance you could send someone out to help?
What do you do?
Your location, and we'll send help your way.
He's an officer, and then he runs a business of gear apparel. So he don't like to be known as there. He don't want people to know this is who he is. He's behind the scenes, but he runs his gear, Dying Breed. And he's helped out, like Joe Soto. He's helped out some fighters. He did some shows and help out.
Who's story?
Huh?
Who's story?
Oh, he's a UFC fighter. Yeah.
Get where you're going. Visit hum.com or your local Verizon store for special holiday savings.
I like Ernie's question. That was good. He asked an intelligent question. It spices it up.
Retired worker is $1,369. Can you live your retirement dream on less than $1,300 a month? Well, most of us can't. That's why so many people trust financial engines to help them plan for a retirement that they can look forward to.
Oh, that's gonna fall.
Our one-on-one approach means that we'll
Can you
talk
just like stick it though?
again.
You
If
know,
you already have a retirement plan, we can help
Yeah, I
make
gotta
sure
get
it's
my
the
own
right
things
one
on.
for your situation.
It's all
If
right.
you don't, well, we'll work together to start one, and we'll be there to help keep it on track. Don't rely on just Social Security for your financial future. Get a personalized retirement plan working for you today. Go to financialengines.com and schedule an appointment with your local financial engines advisor. That's financialengines.com.
This is John Sayers with Financial Engines in Fresno CA. Let's talk about the financial goals that are important to you, and together we'll develop a plan to help make them happen. Call me at 559-434-9800 or visit financialengines.com.
1 minute.
Okay, thank you.
Farner from Quicken Loans. The rate today on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.36%. But choosing the right mortgage lender means choosing much more than just a rate. Let me ask you, does
I want to try to get down to Jose's fight, man.
New York? Would be nice. You what day is it? March what?
Saturday, 17th, March 17th.
30 seconds.
Okay.
The first week of March, hopefully I'm in New Mexico. This February we're supposed to have. I had 2 fighters make it to Missouri, but I can't take them.
Oh,
We didn't have no money.
amateurs?
Yeah,
15 seconds.
The National Silver Gloves.
Yeah.
But we just didn't have the funds. So Jet is up in March, the first week of March in New Mexico. So hopefully I'll be
Heavyweight.
good by then.
Stand by.
And we're back here live here on 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice. Voiceography at its finest. Every fighter has a voice, and so does our guest, Mr. Frank Aleman. This is part 4, and it's called The Future of Boxing. And our segment is sponsored by Serrano's Furniture, family owned since 1986 in 9 great locations: Bakersfield, Delano, Dinuba, Fresno, Hanford, Madera, Tulare, Visalia, and Porterville. And our other sponsor, About Millions, Lifestyle and Promotions in Fresno, California. Also Main Events Gym with new hours, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. with new classes. And now, back to ringside. And there you are, Frank, winner by knockout. There you are. How does it feel to have your name called as the winner?
Oh, it was always a nice feeling.
It was always a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Huh? Hey, so let me just go out on a limb, little change of subject. So what did you think about, what did you think about the announcing Thursday?
Oh, I was real happy to hear you being the main guy, man. I was like, hey, where were you the last show? Back in, when was that last show? In August.
Yes,
in
in
August,
August.
right?
In
It's
August.
like, oh, hey, ain't you going to be? No. Okay, so now you are, and I'm glad you made it. And again, I was happy to
Thank
see
you. I
you
appreciate
do
that. And you know what? I want to thank a few people. I want to thank Rick Meridian. I want to thank Brad Jacobs, Brad Goodman, Lee Samuel, Bob Aram, Top Rank Boxing, because that's what it was. And I know some other people had a say to this. I want to thank Alonzo from About Millions, Big Al Senior, Perez, and Big Al Perez Jr. and the whole Fighter's Voice team. I appreciate that. And that was just a little small plug. I want to stay on this, and it's called The Future. I'm going to throw a name at you, and I believe they are the future of boxing. Madera's own Brian Lua. What's your take on that?
Oh, he's a good fighter. I'd like to see where he goes. He's now he's 3-0.
He's 3-0.
Okay, so let's see how he is when he's 6-0 and 9-0. And a lot of got to do with boxing. And great talent doesn't always rise to the top. A lot has to do with their mindset and how they behave outside the ring, and if they just want it,
Exactly.
Like Gomez is gone, right?
Yeah.
He was 20-0, 22-0, and we haven't seen him in 2 years. But a lot has to do with outside the ring more than it does inside the ring. Inside the ring, there's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of people that can make it to the top. But let's see how they are let's see how they last. It's just way too early to say they're the future. But even it's too early for me to say Kevin is the future.
Okay.
But I say it, and
Okay.
it's nice to see these kids coming up. We saw them in amateurs grow.
Exactly.
I saw his first amateur fight. Maybe you don't know, he has a little brother who's just as
Yeah,
talented.
exactly.
And
Tall, lanky kid.
Elion, and they're gonna all be good pros, and let's just see them grow.
Well, let's see what this call's about. Maybe they have something to do with the future. Hey, you're on the Fighters Voice Radio Show live. Who am I talking to? Carol, the first woman in professional boxing in this decade here as a trainer. What's up, Carol? I'm doing good. Hey, how can I help you? What's your question? Isidro Ochoa. Yes, he looked good. Real slick. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I have Frank Aleman here in studio. You want to tell him something?
Everything's good. Glad to hear you. Yeah, that's right.
That's what's up, man. You're gonna see Carol cornering a professional boxing match soon,
Didn't
right,
I?
Carol?
Haven't you? You did. Yes, she was on TV
Well,
too.
I'm
It was
talking-
on Fox.
Yeah, that's right. You were that big heavyweight,
Yeah,
right?
the heavyweight. Yeah, we were all watching at the gym and seeing you up there. Yeah, it was cool.
See, Carol, you got fans, Carol. Yes.
Oh.
Great.
No, thank you. Yes, thank you. Hey, appreciate the phone call, Carol, and I'll talk to you soon. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. You got it. Brian Lua, Main Event Boxing, Isidro Ochoa. Okay. Okay, you're welcome. All right, you too. Thanks for the call. Bye. Okay, now let's talk about Isidro Ochoa. I believe he's the future. I believe he's a future prospect, a future champion, as well as Kevin Mendoza, as well as Victor Morales, as well as Gabriel Flores Jr. I mean, you guys put them in a hat. You can close your eyes and pick, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, they're all amazing talents when they were young, and we could see it growing up. We see them, but now is the time that they're gonna sink or swim. And
Exactly.
let's see them do it. We're pulling for all of them.
Exactly. I'm going to throw two names at you. And one, I just want to thank this guy from the bottom of my heart. He came up to me, helped me big time. And that's Andy Vincent from San Jose, California. Got a tough fight coming up. Yes, exactly. A Tiburon. Andy Vincent. He is the future of boxing. You mark my word. He's blue collar. He doesn't sit there and beg for sponsors. He doesn't say, I need this, or I can't continue. I can't go on. My hand hurts. He shows up every single day and he puts on an event. When I'm saying that is he holds a full-time job and he holds a full-time job as a professional boxer. There's nothing wrong with asking for sponsors, but don't be afraid to work either, my man, is what I'm saying. And Andy Vincent is, in my opinion, one of the best top prospects in our area. What do you think?
Yeah, San Jose, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, he's up and comer. I saw him fight as amateur also.
Yeah.
We
San
San Jose, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's up and comer. I saw him fight as amateur also.
Yeah.
I had fighters go against him, and no, he's doing really good as a pro. Is he 22-0 now?
Yes, 22-0.
22-0, and he's having a fight in March.
Yes, has a fight in
Yeah,
March.
it's,
Stubb Center.
I'm following it. And,
yeah, Top Rank Boxing, ESPN.
Yeah, he's looking good. He's has another good fighter. He's fighting as an undefeated fighter.
Yes,
One
exactly.
loss maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is
Southpaw.
gonna be a
Fighting
great,
Southpaw.
tough competition. And let's see who wins. And I'm rooting for him, California boy.
You know what? I'm rooting for him too, man. Starting tomorrow, I'm gonna wear my Sharks hat all week until he finishes and is victorious with his hand raised, man. That's all right, dude.
Yeah, you can wear the 49ers too. The 49ers
No, you know what? The only thing I like about the 49ers is that new quarterback with number 10. And you know what? Let's end on that. We got some commercials, a break we're going to take. See, you got me stumbling right now. You just hit me with a low blow on that. We're going to take a point away. We're going to come right back here on 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice, right after this commercial break. That dude's the real deal. No, that quarterback's the real deal. I don't like 49ers. That dude is the real deal. What's his name?
they're
So
at San
pissed
Jose
off.
now, so.
Hey, he didn't want that trade. No, the coach from New England.
Oh, yeah,
He didn't want him gone.
But Brady did.
Oh yeah.
And Brady's still good, man. He's not rusty at all. He's not getting old.
That dude's legit. He is legit.
He must be heavy into the HG. That human growth hormone. That guy stays young, man.
He just, people may not agree. I think he's the greatest of all time in our era. I mean, that just knows how to win. I mean, last year's Super Bowl showed that. Don't put that man back on the field.
I cannot agree with you there.
Oh, wow.
Last year was a failure of one team, not a greatness of the other.
Well, you can look at it as a meltdown too, but he took advantage of it. He still performed. He did what he needed to do. But yeah. Yeah, you made Carroll's day.
I saw him.
Huh?
I've seen him on TV before.
Yeah, I see what they're trying to get. The first time I met her in Fresno. I go, hey, how you doing? She, I was like, hey, calm down. Like, dang, man.
She's a tough girl.
Yeah. Remember the good old days of live TV when anything could happen? Remember the best music of yesteryear, like Count Basie, Tommy Dorsey, and Harry James? Remember those old-time TV programs like The Jack Benny Show, Burns and
I
Allen,
think it was CBS Sports, not Fox.
mix
But
it all up with live
who cares?
guests, taking phone calls from viewers just like you. What do you have? You have a show like no other in the country, each week on KGMC Channel 43.5, Antenna TV, and Comcast Cable Channel 378. Tune your television sets
What do you think of Daniel's
7 p.m.
performance?
every Saturday night for 6
Dan, you
hours
really
of
like that?
entertainment on the fly.
First of all, that ring didn't help him. A small ring.
It's flying
And I wanted to see some right-hand leads on the southpaw. You just use your legs. Don't bang with that, dude. That
He
dude
won the first round.
Stand by.
first round. That was it.
And like I said, man, I saw the exact moment when he just
He didn't like that dude ripped Daniel's body.
the guy hit him with 4 punches in a row.
Yeah.
He hit him, bam, and the guy said ta 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 ta. And there was not a lot hard punches. They were just to connect.
Yep.
And it was over at that point.
That was it. That was it. And we're back live here on 1680 AM, The Fighter's Voice. Voiceography at its finest. Every fighter has a voice, and so does our guest, Mr. Frank Aleman. This is part 5, and it's called Closing Segments. A big thank you to our guest, Frank Aleman, for joining us here on The Fighter's Voice radio show live. Catch our show every Wednesday live on 1680 AM from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. with another rebroadcast on Sunday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. only on 1680 AM. Go to our webpage, thefightersvoice.com, for extra interviews and video segments. Like our Facebook page, The Fighter's Voice. Follow us on Instagram at The Fighter's Voice. And a big thank you to all our listeners, all our streamers who submitted their comments and questions to The Fighter's Voice radio show live. Frank, in 30 seconds, how do we stay in contact with you? How do the followers follow you?
Well, you can follow me at Aleman Boxing on Twitter, on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook under Frank Aleman Boxing. And Aleman Boxing Fresno. Got a follow page on, it has like 5,000 followers or something like that.
There you go.
But yeah, come follow and stay in touch. And you can call me at 559-905-7125. You have information on the gym. The gym's located in Fresno, near Olive and Chestnut. And I want to thank Card City. They've always been a good sponsor of us. And
1 minute? Yeah.
and
No, I'm listening.
so those are the guys that that's where you can reach us. We have a boxing gym right there.
My man was saying 1 minute, but I thought he was flipping me off. He does stuff like that. Our engineer, Woody Pena, man. I don't know what his problem is.
Hey!
Card City, yeah, Ali, man. He's legit. He's cool. And you know what? I do want to say this. Next week on the show, we're going to have Madera's own Brian Lua on the show. The following week, we're going to have Charles Tremblay. And then we're going to have it, believe it or not, the Avenal kid, Jose Ramirez, who gave me his word. Richard, I'm coming to the show once we go live. And I do want to say this. Jose Ramirez, class act from top to bottom. And I realize where he gets it from. I met his mom and dad. His mom's real quiet. His dad, real seasoned guy, very nice guy, awesome guy. And as always, this show I dedicate to my son, Richie. Richie, te quiero mucho, mijo. You're the reason why I breathe, the reason why I do what I do. It's a wrap. Thumbs up for Richie. I love you, son, with all my heart. Thank you, everybody, all the listeners for tuning in. It's a wrap here on the Fighter's Voice Radio Show live.
Yes!
I'm watching you, Woody.
Money. I love it, baby. I love it. Yes.
First radio show dedicated to you, Richie, with all my heart, live. Frank Aleman, our first live guest.
Oh, one more thank you to
Yeah.
Skis Recycling.
There you go.
They always
We killed it, yo.
helping us.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
A live one in the racks.
Bye.
Yeah, baby.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks a lot, man.